Hey guys, Tactical Minds here. Today I want to talk about a often overlooked topic, I feel, and that is how to properly grip and shoot your pistol effectively, also while managing recoil. Before I do that, I do want to throw a disclaimer out there. I'm not Jerry Miculek. If you don't know who that is, go ahead and look it up. But I'm not the fastest and greatest pistol shooter in the world. I've just spent a lot of time behind a gun, and am just going to teach you the things that I've learned. So with that being said, before we go ahead and get into it, as always, guys, please, like the video so YouTube will show it more, comment on some of your tips and what you guys think, share with your friends, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, all that good stuff. I think we're at like 926 subscribers. So thank you as always to all our new people that subscribed. Really appreciate it. Love having you on board, and keep it up. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So one of the reasons why I say this is overlooked is because, we see lots of videos and, movies about, shooting rivles and shotguns and things like that, right? Because that is just really cool looking, right? Having a rifle and doing all these, tactical movements and stuff, it's just, really cool looking. And, nothing looks cooler, right, than when you have a tac vest on with 90 pounds of shit that you probably don't know how to use, and you're doing all these cool movements, right? But the reality is most of us aren't walking around in the civilian world with a rifle strapped to our chest or strapped to our back or strapped to your leg or whatever else they make to strap them to you these days, right? We're not walking around like that. Most of us, if you are carrying a firearm for protection, which as most of you guys who have watched my channel know, I do definitely encourage you to exercise your right to not only own a firearm, protect yourself, but also to carry that firearm, protect yourself and others. We've said in this channel 1,000 times before, the only thing that stops a bad person with a gun is a good person with a gun. But, I'm not Matthew McConaughey, so all right. Let those people go ahead and preach. In any event, like I said, the likelihood is you're going to be carrying a pistol, right? And there's a lot of more concealed carry pistol owners out there now. And with that, there's a lot more gun companies that are getting into the concealed carry market. The new thing now is smaller is better, right? Because smaller is more comfortable. The easier you can carry it on your person and not have it showing or printing, as we call it, to other people, the better it is, right? The more likely you're going to be able to throw it in your $90 fanny pack, throw back to the last video, fuck that thing, or, your purse, or some of these body holsters that they wear, or underwear holsters. I mean, there's so many different things these days, right? But everyone wants to carry these little small guns. Now, that does come with a trade-off, in my opinion, right? So one thing is, smaller people like, because again, it's more comfortable, right? It's easy to conceal. It feels like you're not wearing it, like it's not there, right? So I personally always carry a full size, and I'm sorry if the glare from the sun is hitting off the sexiness of the steel on this barrel. It is what it is. But I prefer carrying a full-size weapon. Now, again, this is definitely going to be nowhere near as comfortable and easy to conceal as, and then show you guys it's clear because we'll be doing a lot of that in this video. This is nowhere near as comfortable, as easy to conceal as something like a Springfield Hellcat or a SIG 365 or some other guns, right? This is just personal preference. I like carrying a full-size weapon. My point is, with a really small handgun, like a lot of people like to carry, you have a couple of things, right? One, you have a shorter sight radius. You have a shorter sight radius, round that's not traveling with as much velocity, and magazine capacity. How many rounds, can the gun hold? And there are a lot of companies these days that are making guns that hold a lot more rounds, as well as there's a lot of guys in the gun community that'll say, oh, you only need 7 rounds, right? Because if you can't hit it with 7 rounds, 45 ACP, then you suck, right? Well, I'll tell you this. If you get into a fight or flight or life and death situation where you do need to use your weapon in a self-defense manner, especially if you're being shot at, all your mechanics are going to go out the window. Your brain's not going to be thinking, and that's when you're going to revert back to muscle memory and good training. And I promise you, those 7 to 11 rounds are probably going to go pretty fast. And if you don't have a spare magazine and you don't have some other stuff to back you up, I think you're going to find yourself in a shit show. Or like I say, a shit sandwich, you're gonna have much more shit than you do bread, right? So again, shorter sight picture, less magazine rounds and stuff like that. But alternatively, much more comfortable to carry. Again, I prefer the full size, higher round count, longer sight picture allows me to engage a target at longer distances if I need to. Now, most of self-defense situations, it is going to be within that 5 to 7, 5 to 8 feet, right? It is going to be that short engagement distance. And in those short engagement distances with decent mechanics behind a gun, you're not going to need to, be stupid accurate at those very close distances. However, again, in the heat of the moment, in a very dangerous situation, a lot of your fine motor skills are going to go out the window. So that's just my argument for it. But any event, a lot of people carrying, and I don't think people that carry concealed often spend enough time behind a weapon. Maybe they go to a class, a couple classes, they learn, and then they put it down and they don't, spend time practicing. And there's a lot of practice you need to be doing, and you can practice a lot of it at home. I know ammo is expensive right now for all of us. So I'm not saying you have to go to the range and blow through thousands of rounds of ammo, but spend a lot of time behind your gun. And there's a lot of things you can do at home. We'll get into that later. So first thing is first, right? Let's go ahead and figure out very first thing. We're buying our first concealed weapon. We're going to go to the range. We're going to do some introduction stuff. We're going to learn, right? So what's one of the first things we do? Find out which eye dominant you are. I don't think enough people do that. I don't think they find out which eye dominant they are. They just go in and think, hey, I'm just going to start shooting this pistol because I saw a cool YouTube video. Haha. Any event, you need to find out which eye dominant you are. So first thing is going to be, there's two little quick tests that we can do, right? And these are very quick. One, you can take your hand and put in a triangle, hold it out in front of you. Didn't that used to be like the Illuminati sign, right? And they used to say, if you did this, you're part of the Illuminati. Or anyway, take that triangle, put it out in front of you. And then what you want to do is place it on something, place it on a target, place it on a doorknob or something like that, right? Close one eye, close the other eye, look through that triangle. Okay. If you close the left eye and with the right eye, that triangle is perfectly in the middle of where that doorknob is, or that doorknob, is perfectly in the middle of that triangle or very close to the middle, then your right eye dominant. If you close your right eye and out of the left eye, that triangle is, that doorknob is in the center of that triangle, your left eye dominant. Basically, try closing each eye. Whichever eye open places that doorknob or that target in the center of that triangle, that's going to be the eye that you're dominant. You will see when you do this, one is going to be way off and the other one's going to be pretty much right on the money. Now, if you don't want to do the triangle for fear of people thinking you're in the Illuminati or looking like a psychopath, you can also just do the thumb, right? Take your thumb, put it out. Again, place it on a target, doorknob, something else. Go ahead and close that eye. Find out which eye is going to have your thumb lined up very close in the center of that target. The other one that's going to be way off, that's your non-dominant eye. The one that puts it on the center, that's your dominant eye. So we got our dominant eye figured out, right? Next thing, stance. Now, stance I can't show you here, but I will do some videos later where I'll do some stuff at the range and show you that. But stance is basically going to be kind of have your feet bladed off a little bit, not like back in the day in the Hollywood movies, all right? But bladed off a little bit, one foot slightly in front of the other, just a little bit. Kind of about shoulder width apart, put a slight little bend in your knees. It's going to help you absorb recoil. And also you want to get a little forward lean into it, right? Not stupid forward lean, but a little forward lean into it because as that recoil is coming back, it's going to kind of push you back on your heels. So we want to naturally have our body weight a little forward so that when we get pushed back, we're driving right back into the position of where that weapon was before, right? So we can get faster follow-up shots on target. Next thing is going to be how to establish a good, proper grip. So first things first, right? Let's take our shooting hand. I'm going to, righty, I'm a righty. So, that's just what we're going to go with. And if you're a lefty, do the same thing for your left hand. I don't know how to teach lefties. I'm not, not a lefty. So in any event, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to establish a good shooter's grip, right? So we're going to take these three fingers, we're going to wrap them around the bottom part of the weapon, right? Today we're using my Tanfoglio and 40 cal. It's just one of my favorite guns. So that's what we're demonstrating on. But in any event, take those three fingers. We want to get a good grip on. Now we don't want to death grip this thing, right? But we want to get a good grip on it. Another thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and make sure before we fire that we set the wrist. Now, when I mean set the wrist is we're setting the tendons, right? You can try this with a friend at home. If you take your hand and you put it straight out like this, tell your buddy who's a lot stronger than you to try and move your hand. They're going to be able to move your wrist up and down. But if you simply set it, and by setting it, just rolling it forward, setting those muscle tendons, if you set it, it doesn't matter how strong that person is, your wrist is not moving because you're setting the tendons, okay? There's no strength required. You can do this to a guy who benches 350 pounds versus a guy who lifts, 50 pounds. Doesn't matter. It's setting the tendons. That's what we're doing there, right? So we want to set those tendons. We want to go ahead and we want to establish that good grip, right? Again, don't death grip this thing. Just get a good grip on it. Finger's going to be naturally indexed along the side because remember, we don't want the finger in the trigger. We don't want our booger hook on the boom boom stick. So we're ready to go bang, bang, right? So finger indexed along the slide, thumb, we're going to go ahead and just keep very loose on the top there for the time being, right? Now, we want to take our other hand, right? And we want to, people like to say, marry this up. I don't think you need to say marry this up. Basically, we're just going to connect this fucking thing, right? We're going to make it like a puzzle piece. See here, when we get this good grip, right? We've got the one side of the gun pretty much covered here. We don't have the grip sticking out at all, right? So on this side of the gun here, though, we got a lot of that real estate wide open, and that's going to allow that gun to jump all around in your hand, right? So basically, we're just going to cover that up. We're going to take our non-shooting hand, our support hand. Again, take those fingers. We're going to marry them up here like this, right? We're going to go ahead and, put them together. Like I said, a puzzle piece. I said marry just like other people do. Haha. Go ahead, put them together like a puzzle piece, right? And now those thumbs are going to naturally just kind of rest right on top of each other and sit forward. Now, if we look at the weapon, we can see as far as on the grip, there's really nothing to jump around here, right? This grip is pretty much well covered. Now, again, we don't want to monkey grip it. We just want to grip it, with enough pressure. Now, if you are going to grip back a little bit more, what you want to do is use these fingers on your support hand to kind of pull that grip in a little bit more. If we grip too tight with our right, what's going to happen is, I'll try to show you here. If we grip too tight with our right, that little bit is going to throw it off. Now, just that couple inches at a very short distance is not going to matter, but at a longer distance, that couple of inches, look, just that little grip, that little bit of movement is going to throw your rounds low and to the left. And that's something that a lot of right-hand shooters often do, is go low to the left because they're kind of death gripping that gun, right? See how it kind of goes a little low and left? They're death gripping the shit out of that gun. And that's what's going ahead. One of the things that's throwing your rounds low and to the left. So we don't want to death grip it. Again, support hand, get them together, make sure we don't have any empty real estate on the gun, okay? And then again, with your support hand, you can take these fingers here and kind of grip back a little bit, but we don't want to death grip and throw that over. See, if we grip back with these fingers, and you can see them tightening, we're not really moving the weapon system at all, right? Moving it a little bit, but we're not moving it too much. But if we grip here, you can see that down into the left motion, right? So again, don't over grip, get that good two-hand grip established, get that wrist set. Now, another important thing is going to be when we punch out, okay? When we punch out to the target, we don't want to lock our elbows out, okay? I see this a lot. Don't want to lock your elbows out, because what happens when you lock your elbows out, now you're going to go ahead and that recoil is going to go up into your head. So we don't want to lock those elbows out, right? Again, clear weapon. We'll go ahead and shut this so we can show it a little more realistic, okay? So don't lock those elbows out. Again, that's going to force all the recoil up and towards your head, okay? So don't lock them. You want to get a good, punch out, but leave a good little bit of bend in those elbows, a little bit, all right? And then your shooting elbow, you want to, because if you're getting that good cant on that weapon, if you're getting that good set on the tendon, you're going to see it rolls down a little bit. And so you're going to take this elbow, kind of roll them in a little bit. And what that's going to do is that's going to kind of roll that weapon up and put it into the good shooting position that we need. Okay. That's going to put it there. What you want to do is you want to line these sights up, your rear and your front sight, right? We want to really focus on the front sight. And what we want to do is basically that front sight, those two rears, right? We want to have equal light and height on all three, right? So we want those three to be dead center. We want it to be your front sight equal distance from the left and the right, but then you also want it to be the equal height of the left and the right. You want it to look like a perfect little thing like that, like you're kind of kicking through a field goal or kicking a football through a field goal post, right? So you want to make sure that you have them all lined up. Now you want to focus on that front sight. So when you're focusing on that front sight, okay, and focusing that on your target, your rear sights should be blurred out, and that's the proper way to do it. If you're focusing too much on the target and not focusing on your front sight, you're going to see the target, your front sight's going to be a little bit blurred out, and what's going to happen is you're going to be looking where your rounds go, and I guarantee you're going to miss. Do not be looking where your rounds go. Don't be focusing on the target. Focus on that front sight. We want a good front sight picture. Again, those rear sights should be blurred out a little bit. We want that good front sight picture on that front post sight and line that up. Don't be looking where your rounds going. Later on, you can check where they went. But if you're watching where your rounds are going as you're shooting, you're going to shoot off, and then you're going to get in your head and you're going to shoot even worse. So again, set that wrist, get that grip together. Don't leave any open real estate in the gun. Go ahead, punch out. Don't lock those elbows out. Leave a little bit of flex. What that flex is going to do is when you have that recoil, it's going to kind of push back. Like I said, we're leaning forward a little bit too, right? It's going to push that recoil back and allow you to get back on target faster. If we lock them out, we're just going nowhere but straight up. We don't want to be going straight up, right? We want to be able to have that little bit of flex in there to go ahead and up a little bit and kind of in towards our body. So go ahead, line them up like that, right? Next thing that is very important. So we went ahead, we lined up, we got our stands down, we got our good sight picture. We're focused on our target, right? Next thing, and this is a huge thing that gets a lot of people, again, we're clear here, okay, is your trigger pull, okay? Now, what you want to do is slowly pull the trigger, okay? Now, you can get faster as you step this up, but you want to pull the trigger and not jerk the trigger, okay? You want to squeeze the trigger. Actually, squeeze is probably better than pull. You want to squeeze the trigger and not pull or jerk the trigger. Now, by that, what I mean is that when you go ahead and you get those sights and you're lined up on there, right? And you get that trigger, you should have that trigger and the gun should not move at all, okay? You want that trigger to go off and you want each recoil, each round to be a surprise. What a lot of shooters do right off the rip and will continue to do is they anticipate that recoil. So what they do is they get out there, they're expecting when they hit this thing that it's going to go off, right? So they get out there, they're expecting it, and they end up pulling that trigger too hard. They squeeze it, they jerk it a little bit, they move that gun, again, low and to the left. That's where your round's going to go because they're jerking that trigger and they're anticipating that recoil. So you got to get that out, and that just takes repetition, guys. A lot of practice at home, a lot of practice dry firing. You could sit there and dry fire at home all day long, right? Just sit there, go ahead, get that good front sight picture, pull that trigger, and make sure that that weapon doesn't move. And if that weapon is moving when you're pulling the trigger, you're anticipating the recoil. You got to keep working and get that out of you. Now, one thing you can do that can help you with that is you can get yourself some snap caps for when you do go to the range. I think snap caps are very underrated and they should be used more often. Snap caps are these, right? So they make them in everything. They make them in for your AR-15, even make them for your shotgun. And this one here is a 40 caliber one for a pistol. What these are is these are practice rounds, right? They're dummy rounds. Now, not like blanks you see in Hollywood movies. When you put this in, the gun's not going to go bang. But what this is going to help you to do is help you to get that recoil impulse, that anticipating the recoil and jerking it. This is going to show you how you're doing it and help to teach you to get out of it. So what you want to do is you want to take your magazine, right? And you want to go ahead, you want to have, you know, a couple of these, I would say, but you can do it with one. So go ahead, take your magazine and load a couple of rounds in, right? And if you're with a friend, even better. Have your friend load a couple of real rounds in and then somewhere sneak this dummy round in, okay? Now, the dummy round, again, we'll go ahead, we'll load it up in here. All right, we'll go ahead, load it up, and I'll show you what this round does, right? I'll just give you one. So here we go. It's loaded. It's in. We can see there, it's in, right? So what happens? Bang. Nothing happens, right? Nothing goes off. It's a dummy round. That's what it's there for. Okay, so what we do is, like I said, we put that dummy round in with some other live rounds, and we don't want to know where this dummy round is. Now, so when you have it in there and you're doing it, okay, what's going to happen is this. You're going to sit there and you're going to be shooting those rounds, and you're not going to know when that dummy round goes, right? And if you sit there and you press that trigger and that gun jumps a little bit, or those sights move a little bit on that dummy round, you know you're anticipating the recoil. The dummy round is going to help you get that out of there, because again, if you pull that trigger and the gun doesn't move or jump, but you notices it moves a little bit and the round didn't go off and you sat on that dummy round, again, you're going to see you're anticipating the recoil. And that's something I cannot stress enough that you have to get out of you, because you anticipate the recoil, you're jerking that trigger, you're going to shoot low and to the left every single time. It's just going to happen. That is probably some of the biggest mistakes I see, is jerking the trigger, monkey gripping the shit out of the gun, death gripping it, and again, focusing more on your target instead of focusing on your front sight post. So those are some things that you can do. And again, I would encourage you, at home, take 5 minutes a day, just sit there, get a good sight picture, practice that good sight picture, practice setting that wrist, practice getting that elbow placement perfect, those feet, and then just go ahead and practice that slow, smooth trigger pull. You don't need to be super fast on this, okay? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. We've talked about that before, right? You don't need to be super fast. Some of the fastest shooters I've seen look like they're shooting slower than shooters that are rushing out of the gate, because every movement is not wasted and they're a lot smoother with the trigger. So they're actually going a lot faster and they're more effective, and they're putting more effective follow-up rounds on target. Okay. So again, go ahead, get that trigger press down, get that smoothness down, get that anticipated recoil impulse out. Make sure we're getting that good sight picture and all that good stuff, right? Start doing that, practicing that at home, practice at the range when you do have time. Practice, 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 and you're going to smooth things out, and you're going to notice the more you smooth it out, the faster your trigger pull is going to be, the faster your follow-up shots are going to be, because you're going to be managing the recoil better. You're going to be hitting back on target faster. But again, guys, these are things that we have to practice. Do not go out, just get a gun, get the smallest gun, tuck it in your waistband, tuck it in your appendix, wherever you're going to put it. And just think that when the situation happens, because you went and shot once or twice, that you're going to go ahead and you're going to just, be Johnny on the spot with your rounds, right? You got to practice. You got to practice all the time. If you can't practice the range all the time, you got to practice at home, but you got to practice. Okay. You have to spend a lot of time behind your weapon system and get comfortable with it. You got to spend a lot of time behind this gun. Owning a gun is not just about having it. Okay. You want this thing to do what it's intended to do when the time is right. And that being said, I've said this before, money does not replace training. Okay. You can own a $3,000 handgun. This gun right here is about $1,300, and I could shoot this the same way I could shoot a $300 handgun, because training at the end of the day is always going to replace everything else. So don't go out there and buy a freaking $3,000 handgun and think that that's going to make you, again, Jerry Miculek or John Wick or any of these other guys. It's not. Okay. Doesn't matter about the money you spend on the gun. It matters about the training. So again, get good training, take your time, spend a lot of time behind this gun, get comfortable with it, get to know it. Have this thing be like a second extension of your body. Have it be like a third arm, okay? Again, those are just some basic tips. We can go ahead and dive into more advanced ones in a later video, and go ahead and follow up with some range time in a later video. But those are some tips to get you started. So again, guys, carry that weapon safely. Remember, always keep your booger finger out of that, boom, boom stick until you're ready to go bang. Practice safe, gun practices. Practice with your off-duty holster, or practice with your concealed carry holster. Like I say all the time, practice dry firing the home, practice these things to range, get yourself some snap caps. They're not that expensive. And get good behind that gun, guys, because when the time comes, your life depends on it. You want to know how to use it, not just have bought it and watched a bunch of Hollywood movies and think all of a sudden you're John Wick. Anyway, guys, that's the video. I know it was a little long, but trying to squeeze a lot into this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And stay safe. Stay tactical, stay dangerous, stay up on your gun safety, guys. And, stay on those front sights, right? Hope you guys have a good day. Catch you again soon.